And the big news that came in from the United States of America: in a flurry of judgments, the U.S. Supreme Court has handed down 3 major judgments in the last 2 hours. Now, one of these verdicts will make Donald Trump frown and 2 makes him smile. Let's quickly break down these judgments one by one for you. First up, in a major setback for Donald Trump, the U.S. Supreme Court has upheld the Birthright Citizenship, striking down Trump's executive order denying citizenship to a U.S.-born child if one of the parents is not a legal American citizen. The lower federal courts had earlier, unanimously rejected Trump's executive order on birthright citizenship. But the crucial ruling from the Supreme Court's conservative-leaning bench brings in a huge relief for millions in the country. The other big ruling that came in today serves as a win for Donald Trump. The U.S. top court has upheld states' ban on transgender women athletes in women's sports. The Supreme Court, which has a 6-3 conservative majority in its bench, has allowed states to ban trans athletes from girls' sports teams. The ruling essentially comes after months of dramatic legal battles between the Trump administration, the conservative-leaning states, and trans athletes, along with their allies. Now, the conversation, has been just more than a legal process. It has stirred a cultural debate in American society, further deepening the liberal versus conservative perspectives. U.S. President Donald Trump quickly dropped a social media post. He hailed the Supreme Court verdict, upholding the ban on transgender athletes playing in women's sport. He said, and I quote him, "The United States Supreme Court just ruled against men playing in women's sports. Wow, that takes that ridiculous situation off the table." Now on to the third case, which relates to political spending. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of a Republican-led lawsuit that included Vice President J.D. Vance. The court has lifted a Watergate-era cap on political spending. Now remember, this gives political parties a more central role in the flow of political money around election time. The U.S. president has lauded the Supreme Court ruling lifting this restriction on political spending. He called it a big win for the Republicans and the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. However, remember, there's no comment from Trump on the setback regarding birthright citizenship. Today's decision by the Supreme Court puts a legal end to this discourse. Remember, on the first day of his second term, U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order banning trans athletes from competing in women's sports. Trump argues that the practice is demeaning, unfair, and dangerous for women and girls.